Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the PSBlue podcast. This is episode 5, the June State of Play / Summer Game Fest wrap up. As always, I'm joined by Vinny, my cousin and co-host. What's going on today?
Anthony, I'm doing very well. It seems like we have a lot to talk about. It feels like every day there's another massive gaming story that's coming out.
I know, man.
You know, this is that time of the year where everything just seems to be pouring out. So I'm excited. I think we got a lot of good topics to talk about. So
That's what I was going to say.
well.
It's the summer. It's, the summer is the time for announcements. So it's a very exciting time to have a podcast. I'm very excited. Like I just said, we're on episode 5. We're climbing the ladder here. So anyway, did you have a chance to start Sifu yet? Just curious.
I did. Not a whole lot. We're talking less than an hour, probably about maybe 45 minutes or so. So one small little gaming session. I think that to give maybe brief thoughts on what I saw, I think the one thing that stood out to me about this game is the art style. I really dig the art style. I think it looks awesome. Way better than I was anticipating this game looking. I'll be honest, because this game's it's not a fully priced game. I want to say it was only $30 on the PlayStation Store. So I was
40,
not
I believe. Yeah.
$40. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was $40. Beautiful game. Beautiful. I'm really excited. I could tell it's going to be hard as shit. It's going to be hard.
It is.
So
Yeah.
I could already tell immediately going into it. But so far, I like what I see.
For those of you that don't know, Sifu is Vinny's For Your Consideration game, which is a segment that we do at the end of the podcast where we suggest a game to each other and sort of review it and give impressions. I recommended Sifu to Vinny. I just wanted to talk about the initial feel that I had when I played that game. It was so snappy and fun and I don't want to say frenetic. That's the wrong word. But that's a word that came to my mind. It's not frenetic. It's more like fluid, and it is fast though. It's very fast. It's fast and fluid, and the martial arts embedded in the game is just so cool. Particularly in that game, what I loved was the way that it uses the DualSense. Did you get to that?
It's so
at all
cool.
in the game?
And
Yeah.
I was just gonna to piggyback off of that. If you can really feel the punches in this game. So much impact. It's so satisfying to just knock someone out from what I've played. And again, I'm less than an hour into the game, and I love that part about it. You're absolutely right. That's a big standout. Is you feel that impact, and the way that it uses the DualSense is very. I'm excited to see what I have in store for this one.
Yeah, it's awesome. It doesn't overdo it. It's just a very, very tactful use of the DualSense. As far as what I'm playing, NHL 22, trying to get the Rangers a Stanley Cup because they can't do it themselves. That's okay though. I dabbled into Apex Legends for about 10 minutes too. I wanted to talk to you about that. Yeah. I see the face you're making. Yeah,
like
so
flabbergasted.
Yeah, fresh off of Titanfall 2, I beat Titanfall 2, and I just wanted to step my foot in the water. I went to Apex, I played the tutorial, I got to the loading page, I queued up for a game, I got bombarded with microtransaction advertisements, and I deleted it from my hard drive immediately. I didn't even get to a match.
Wow. Wow.
It's such a shame because Respawn makes such good use of their shooting mechanics in all of their games. Obviously, other than Jedi Fallen Order, but Respawn is one of the best developers as far as gameplay, in my opinion. And it's so sad that they've turned to the dark side, so to speak, as far as free to play. It is what it is.
Anthony, I couldn't disagree more, Anthony. I think
Really?
Apex Legends is probably the highest rated free to play game I think out there. It plays so well. It has that Respawn DNA in it where it is so fluid. It is a lot of fun. I can understand though you going in there. That is a game that really does particularly within its menus, I think can be really overwhelming. I think that it does feel like a mobile game in a lot of ways. I don't like the menus of Apex Legends. They're just ugly. I think they could definitely use some changes there. But I still can't believe you went into the game. I'm shocked. I really am. I'm very taken back by this. I was not expecting this.
Yeah, well, Titanfall 2 was the game that you gave me. I'm going to be reviewing it a little later in the episode, but I felt like Respawn deserved a chance from me after I played Titanfall 2. That's how much I loved some aspects of that game. We're going to get into it. I don't want to spoil the review, but yeah, I gave it a shot. I can't say that I didn't try.
That's right. That's right. You can at least always say that you went in it and then you went right out. Sounds like for 10 minutes.
All right, Vinny, let's dive in. We got a lot today, as you already mentioned. Today we're going to be covering Street Fighter 6, Horizon, Call of the Mountain, the new PlayStation Plus, Madden 23, a Titanfall 2 review, and Tunic. But first, the illustrious quote of the week goes to me. And I wanted to reiterate. Last week, I said, quote, "We're going to sit at Carrabba's. I'm going to have top shelf old fashions. Vinny's going to pay for it all. I can't wait. This is super exciting. Thank you, Vinny. I appreciate it. It's not going to be free to play." End quote. Now, of course, that's in reference to Vinny's bold claim. We made a bet. He claimed that the new multiplayer game developed by Naughty Dog will be a free-to-play one. And I strongly disagreed with him. So, Vinny, do you have anything to say about that?
You sound pretty confident over there based on this quote. I wouldn't feel that way, though. I feel like maybe I should get something more than Carrabba's, considering I'm the one, I feel like, in the end of this bet that's taking that half-court shot. Okay? Maybe I deserve 2 dinners if I win and you get 1 dinner.
No,
I feel like, that would be the most appropriate way to go about this because, for me to say that The Last of Us, multiplayer mode is going to be free to play, that's pretty bold, So, and I'm pretty, you know what? Never mind. I take that back. I'll stand by what I said. I feel very confident this is going to be a free to play experience. So I can't wait to make you eat your own words. And I'm going to bring back this episode on how you had the quote of the week and then, how much of a moron you're going to look like come when they announce this is going to be free to play.
I don't see that happening. I think it's more of a full court shot. People pay for Naughty Dog games. That's all I'm going to say. And
not this one.
We'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at that. So, Naughty Dog, new multiplayer game. Vinny thinks it's going to be free to play. We will circle back to this episode 5 very shortly. And Vinny, you're going to be wrong. Okay, let's jump right into it. So, the first topic we have for today, a very, very big announcement. E3 is making a comeback. Now, E3, the biggest gaming expo and con in ever, had to sit on the sidelines and watch as people came in and swooped in, and you had Summer Games Fest, you had the Xbox Bethesda conference, a very big state of play from Sony, and they are taking all of the thunder away from the spotlight that used to be dominated by E3. Now, this comes from the Washington Post. And Vinny, what do you have to say about all this?
Reading this and looking at this, I really wonder what... I feel like we don't need E3 anymore. I feel like we're beyond that point, to be honest with you. If this comes back, my focus would be on what is Sony's involvement, what's Microsoft's involvement going to be, and Nintendo's involvement, because it seems like they're pretty hell-bent on doing these things internally now. The state of plays, the Xbox Bethesda conference, less, obviously, essentially zero margin for error. You know what you're going to put out long before you put it out. There's not any sort of hiccups or anything like that. And maybe it's because I'm older, but I actually kind of prefer the tighter sort of script of a state of play, of a Nintendo Direct. I do see. See, I'm kind of going back and forth here because I do miss the experience of kind of seeing everyone's reaction to something. You know, like when Kingdom Hearts 3 was revealed, right? At E3, Sony's E3, I think this was like a decade ago. And everyone freaked out. I think they announced Final Fantasy VII Remake in that same E3, and that crowd erupted, which is just such a real magical moment. I don't think those moments are going to come from E3 anymore. I think those are going to be more like the BlizzCons, the Comic-Cons, sort of the more events catered towards specific games, towards specific gamers. I think that's where the future of these sort of in-person events is. I think this just doesn't seem like it's going to be successful without Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo being heavily involved, and I just don't see that happening. I really can't see this being a success. I'd be very surprised if it was. But what do you think? Do you think this is going to be a success? I can't see it.
What is... let me start over. This is the evolution of these conventions, of these announcement sort of press conference, presser type events. And what I'm referring to is the smaller, more independent focused, more, laser focused events like Xbox Bethesda, like Sony State of Plays, like Nintendo Directs. We don't need this all-encompassing E3 anymore. And it seems like that's what you're saying.
Yeah. And something like, I want to say that Square Enix just held an event. And the one that they announced, actually they did. It was the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth announcement. They said some stuff about Kingdom Hearts 4. Was that in person? I don't think it was. To my knowledge, it may have been just press only. I don't know of any big reveal event. I feel like I would have seen something if that was.
There was definitely a big online footprint with that Square Enix event. So I don't know if there was also a public or private in-person sort of thing that went along with it, but I do know that news is all over the place. And I forgot to mention in the introduction portion of the podcast, we will be talking about some of those announcements as well. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Crisis Core Remake. We're gonna talk about that in a little bit here, but very excited for that. I see E3 as a dated way of doing this. I really do. Not that, like you said, it wasn't fun to get involved in these big press conferences, and we'd never been to E3. We always talked about going one year, and we never made it, but maybe we will. Maybe it'll make a big comeback, but they're gonna have to do something. They're gonna have to do something to stick out now. I mean, you're right. Why risk giving this platform to a third party when you can just do it yourself? And it's much easier now with the advent of streaming, and it's sort of old. There's nothing more else you can say, really. I think I remember watching G4 TV, which is sort of a bizarre company now, but I remember watching E3 on the television because we didn't have the ability to stream it. But now we're in a different age. We have access to all these new things. We have a direct line of contact with all of these companies, and they have a direct line of contact back to us. We don't need a third party, in my opinion. But I'm happy to see that they're still going to try and make a comeback. That's all I have to say on E3.
And Anthony, there's only so many events that there can be. There are so many events out there. I mean, there's the Game Awards at the end of the year. They announced They announced so many games during that.
Right.
There's so many opportunities here, and I also think that we're in a different time that these publishers, these bigger companies, these Microsofts, the Sonys, want their own moment. They don't want to share the stage with anybody. There should be no situation where Xbox goes in the morning, Sony goes at night. I think those days are done.
That's a good point.
I don't think these publishers want to do that anymore, because it just doesn't make any sense. They want the games to kind of have their focus and appropriate, and it's appropriate. I think that's the right move for these companies. It just seems like a dated way to do things, and it's a shame, because I think that me and you both are in line here, that we think this is going to likely be a failure. I don't see a way that this is going to be a success, because, and then also Summer Games Fest has gotten really big. Geoff Keighley has done a great job with that event. So it's a shame. It really is. It kind of brings me a little tear down my eye, because I think we both remember the fun that we had watching E3 and the excitement, and it's a shame that those days are over. And like you said, it wasn't too long ago. It really wasn't. It was like a decade. 10 years. Well, I guess 10 years is a long time, but it's crazy how fast that things have changed. So
right,
it's a shame.
I don't think it'll go extinct quite yet, although I don't think it's going to have the impact that it used to. You might see the Konamis of the world, the Bandai Namcos, I don't want to call them like AA studios, but the ones just below the Square Enixes and the Naughty Dogs and the PlayStation Studios and Xbox first party, Bethesda, the stage right below that. Maybe they're gonna get a big announcement here or there on E3, I would say, because they're gonna get the stage, because Sony doesn't want it anymore, Microsoft doesn't want it anymore, etc., etc., etc. Yeah, I'm done with talking about this. I don't know about you, but
yeah, we can.
It's sad. It is sad.
R.I.P. E3.
Let's move on. And this doesn't bode well for E3 either, because at State of Play, June 2022, there was a massive announcement: Street Fighter 6. This is one of those games we did not get to last week because there was so much announced at the June State of Play, and Street Fighter 6 was one of those. We got an overworld gameplay. There seems to be some sort of open world aspect to the game, and then of course some fighting gameplay. We have Street Fighter, and it looks better than ever. Vinny, what do you think of Street Fighter 6?
Dude, I think it looks awesome. I think it looks really good. The gameplay looks, it looks like more Street Fighter, to be perfectly honest with you. This looks like everything that I could probably want it to be. I think we both already knew that the gameplay was going to be 10 out of 10 fighting gameplay. I don't think that was my concern with this game whatsoever, was going to be its fighting mechanics. I think those look fantastic in the trailer that we saw. I know, and you brought it up, it's a little weird and sort of jarring to see a third-person mode in a Street Fighter game. I don't know if I would have done that. I think it's a little weird, to be honest with you. I don't know. Is this something that the fan base has been clamoring for? I know that people want something different. I suppose that this is their answer to that, but it just seems a little bizarre. Are we going to go around as Ryu and some open? It doesn't seem like this is an open world. Obviously, it's not going to be like a huge open world, but there's definitely some 3D elements to this game that's never been in a Street Fighter before. It's really weird. Is it going to be only with this character that we're seeing in the trailer? Who, it's just really bizarre to watch this.
I think
it is okay.
Yeah, that's what I gathered, at least, is an avatar that you make, and that's sort of you're being trained by Ryu and Chun-Li and people like that. I guess they're a bit older now, and they train you. That's the vibe I got, at least from the trailer.
Okay, that's kind of cool. I'll be honest with you. The way that you kind of explained that to me is actually way cooler than what I was thinking. But that looked really good. I suppose the other thing that stood out to me is this game's coming out next year, which kind of stinks. I was hoping it would come out this year. But worse than that, Anthony, this is going to make me sound like a spoiled brat. This game's coming to PS4 next year. I was kind of hoping for a next-gen only Street Fighter game. I'll be honest with you. And this is the PS5 owner in me, the spoiled brat. I know there are millions and hundreds of, there's like over 100 million, units out there of PlayStation 4. But at what point are we just going to move on? Can we just make next-gen games? Is there ever going to be a next-gen leap? That's going to be 3 years into this, hardware cycle. I suppose the argument could be made out there, and rightfully so, that these aren't readily available. So, why not give people that can only have the PS4 right now, give them the opportunity to play the game? But, man, I was really kind of hoping that this would be the next generation of Street Fighter. That, some sort of, I wanted a next-gen exclusive. I'll be honest with you. I miss Street Fighter 5. Street Fighter 4 is a top 10 PlayStation game of all time for me. I love that game. I was hoping that there would be something kind of, different here. And I don't think that was the third-person mode. I don't think that's exactly what I wanted. I think, roster-wise, I hope to see a great, high number of fighters. I think that's another problem with Street Fighter, is that they typically release these games and it feels unfinished. I think Street Fighter 5 had that problem, and that's probably why I didn't end up playing it. I know there's like a Ultimate Edition of that game, which is probably fantastic right now, right? With tons of fighters, probably tons of modes. I know Street Fighter 4 had the same thing. I'm a little fearful that this game is going to have that same problem of releasing and it feels kind of unfinished or, bare roster. But what are your thoughts on that? I'm curious.
Okay, I'll be honest with you. I never expected a new Street Fighter to be next gen only, because it is such a big IP. It is such a massive franchise that they're going to want to put that thing on every single console they can, and they're just going to sell more copies that way, and they can get away with it. The PS4 version might not even run, but they'll still get people to buy it. That's just sort of, unfortunately, the state that we're in right now with this generation transition. You saw it a little bit when we went from PS3 to PS4. You saw games that came out for both systems. They ran like absolute garbage on the older hardware, and they ran great on the newer hardware. They're trying to double dip, if you will. And it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. The game looks great. I said this on a previous episode. The PS5 is a luxury console. I still believe that. Yes, I think that if you allow a developer to only make a game for the PS5, it is going to make the game better. It is going to push the boundaries, because you're not thinking about, okay, I have to port this to older hardware as well. Having said that, we see things like 60 frames per second. We see things like 4K resolution. And, these are great features, and they make a big difference when you get used to them, but they are by no means a necessity. You know what I mean? You could run Street Fighter 6 on a PS4 on a locked 30 frames per second, 1080p, and it could have lowered textures, and then you could have the 4K 60 FPS PS5 version, and anyone that wants to take the game seriously on a competitive level is going to play it on the next-gen version. That's just what we're going to see for the next, handful of years. Until the PS5, like you said, is readily available, which we also talked about that on last week's episode, you're just not going to see the PS4 being phased out yet. Until they have to sell PS5s, until they have no alternative than to release the games only on next-gen hardware, you're not going to see it. And, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel pretty strongly about that.
Yeah, man, I think this is a game that I'm with you. I think this looks fantastic. It really does, and that's kind of the spoiled brat in me, okay? Because I know it's the reality of the situation. They're going to put this on PlayStation 4. It just makes too much sense. It's just a shame that, we're kind of in this predicament, but this is a game that we're going to have to get for the podcast, man, because this looks so good gameplay-wise. I think it looks awesome. It really, really does look awesome from just a fighting mechanic standpoint, it looks so good. I haven't played Street Fighter in forever. This is a game we got to play.
I agree. And you know where to look once that game comes out for your first impressions. We will definitely do something with Street Fighter 6. Like you said, it's not coming out till 2023, so you guys are going to be waiting a little bit for that. But
Anthony, let me ask you
Yes.
this. Are you willing to, as I did with the Nickelodeon All-Stars Battle Royale, where I said, you put the Crimson Chin in this game and I'll play it. Are you willing to do that with Street Fighter 6 and Sagat? Are you willing to put your name out there and say if they announce Sagat for Street Fighter 6, that you'll play it?
They better.
Okay. You think so? I don't think he was in Street Fighter 5. I don't think he was.
Dude, he was not, as far as I understand it. I'm going to do a quick Google search for this because
I don't think he was.
think my main fighter in Street Fighter 4, Sagat, I don't think he was in Street Fighter 5. We're gonna look it up right now, right here, live on air. Okay.
That's right, folks.
I'm looking. Yeah, he was. So he was, but
Okay.
he was in the. And this is just a quick Google search. Don't fact check us, please, because we're just talking. Street Fighter 5 Arcade Edition Sagat gameplay trailer. So he must have been released in a new version of Street Fighter 5, which does not bode well for us, because maybe they're going to hold on to him until he's in like an ultimate Street Fighter 6 version or something like that. I need him in the game. Yes, if he's in the game, I'll play it 100%. Day one, let's say this, day one purchase, if they announce Sagat as a playable character, I will pre-order Street Fighter 6.
Wow. There you go. Keep the tape, folks. Keep that tape.
Are you gonna pre-order this one? This next game we're talking about? Madden 23? Official gameplay trailer? Field Sense. Field Sense, Vinny. Tell me about Field Sense. I'm talking
That's right,
Madden
man.
23. Oh my God. Talk to me about this game.
We've never sensed a field like this quite before, have we? This is so sad. The video that you sent me, the gameplay trailer that was just released for Madden 23, I mean, my goodness. Is this not the same game every year? Is it not?
literally
Can we
is.
all just come to our senses and just say,
Our field
let's not
senses?
buy it this year? Wait, oh, yeah, let's... Oh, dude. Ah, man, gotta get that field sense. It's the same mechanics they're throwing out here all the time, I swear. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. You know that Will Ferrell gif from him from Zoolander? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills watching this video. It is so sad. It looks the exact same as Madden 18 that I played 4 years ago.
I don't...
Dude, it looks so...
Okay,
I'm so
so-
disgusted with this game.
Just to let our audience in on it, because I sort of jumped right into it. Madden 23 was announced officially. There's gameplay trailer. There was a gameplay trailer, and they're announcing this mode, or not a mode, it's a feature, and it's called Field Sense TM. Yes, that's right. They trademarked it, Field Sense. I have no idea what it is. There's a little box that pops up when you target a wide receiver now, and you can direct the pass more. I don't know who's asking for this. This is not what we want. We want a better game. We don't want more gimmicks and more features for the current game. We just want a better game. Nothing has changed here, at least at first glance on this trailer. And John Madden just passed away, and they're trying to make an effort to have him as a sort of, I don't know what they're making a tribute to him in this Madden 23, and I really hope that they do right by him. I hope we're wrong, because I'm just as skeptical as you, if not more skeptical, about Madden 23. It looks not great.
It looks awful. I mean, just awful. And it's such a shame, like you said, they're using John Madden's likeness here. And I want to say there's one thing about this game that seems interesting, okay? And I think you're going to agree with me. It looks like they're going to use John Madden's voice as an announcer in this game. I think
Really?
that to me is cool. That's probably
I
the
missed
only
that.
thing that I've heard. I think they announced that when the game was launched, that they were going to have some form of him announcing games. I'm assuming. I remember reading about it, and I was like, okay, that's the only thing that's cool. Oh, great, you know. But
That
it's
is
just such a
cool.
shame. They're tossing the same game out there, and everyone's buying it. Now, I will say this one thing as I'm watching this, YouTube video in the background here. I bet you EA did a backflip when YouTube announced that you can't see dislike buttons anymore, because this probably has. I mean, my goodness, how much did EA pay YouTube to get rid of the dislike button? Now I'm starting to think to myself there might be some conspiracy here,
Oh my
because
God! Listen,
this
listen.
game,
I'm gonna stop you right there.
yeah.
We've already had too many conspiracies on last episode.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. I'll go down the rabbit hole here. But Anthony,
No, no,
listen to me
no.
here.
That was a corporate decision. Wow, perfect grammar on PSBlue podcast. Getting rid of the
I'm
dislike.
laughing because you just brought it up that you're like, yeah, I get rid of certain things I say.
Yeah. We were talking about me editing the podcast, but you know what? I'm not going to edit this. I'm keeping all of this content in there for our lovely viewers. So they got rid of the dislike button, right? And I'm sorry, they didn't get rid of the dislike button. They got rid of the dislike stats. You can't see the dislike. It's still a button on there. You can dislike videos. You don't see it on the videos anymore. You cannot have access to the dislike numbers. And that was a corporate move. 100% a corporate move. For companies, it's not just EA, but it was other companies too. Any company that does something that is sort of challenging, all they have to do is turn comments off and they're done. Because comments are the only way that you can sort of voice your opinions on a video now, other than clicking the dislike button real fast. Not everybody wants to sit there and write a comment. Some people just want to say, I dislike this, and thumbs it down, but they can't. They can, but the video's just not going to come up in their feed. Nobody's going to see it, So that's really funny that EA is doing backflips when YouTube announced their dislike button was removed. Okay, let's move on, dude, because I hate talking about topics that upset me. Unfortunately, we just have to cover certain things that we don't like. Some people, I guess, might even find it entertaining. The frustrations that we deal with from a EA perspective. I will say this. Vinny, you mentioned you were playing Plants vs. Zombies. That is an EA game, so...
Oh, I know. I see it every time I go into the game. I see
Jedi Fallen Order is an EA game. EA makes good games, or they publish good games at least. They just have a bad track record lately with microtransactions and sports games in particular. Anyway,
the Dead Space remake they're doing, which looks awesome. It looks really good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
EA's publishing that game,
that
and
makes sense.
it looks awesome. It Takes Two was EA as well, wasn't it? I want to say It Takes Two.
Yes, it was published by EA. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
That's one of my favorite games ever.
It's really just their recurring sports titles that this problem is existing from what I know. It might be some of the smaller ones, maybe Battlefield. Yeah, Battlefield, Battlefront 2 obviously had that whole loot box fiasco when it came out, but it just seems like this is, the heart of the problem here are these sports games. It's just makes you sick.
Yeah. We'll figure out Madden one of these days. One of these days they'll have an NFL game that is worthy of our time again. It's sad. It really is. Moving on. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Gameplay was revealed. Now, we talked about Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 last time on the podcast, but shortly thereafter, a gameplay reveal trailer was confirmed for the game and shown. I want to say it was Summer Game Fest. Is that right, Vinny?
Summer Game Fest. Yeah.
Yeah. So Summer Game Fest, we got to look at the game. It looks great. I'm heavily considering picking this game up. And as a matter of fact, I'm heavily considering going back and playing Modern Warfare 1 Remake, 2. I help me out with the title here. Modern Warfare
Just Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
2018.
Yeah.
Let's say, did it come out in 2018? The newer Modern
Yeah.
Warfare. I'm gonna go back and play it. I may. But for now, Vinny, talk to us about Modern Warfare 2 because you have a little bit more of a history with these games than I do.
Dude, I thought it looked awesome. I'll be honest with you. I'm right there with you. I'm actually pretty surprised by how impressed I was with what they showed. I think graphically it looks... I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I think it looks stunning graphically from what I saw. Everything that I saw, the lighting, the effects, the water effects... They actually showed, like a long gameplay sequence. I know there's the gameplay trailer, and then there's kind of like an actual gameplay sequence. It's like 6.5 minutes long of them kind of hijacking or taking over a boat, and sort of a stealth mission. And it's beautiful. It looks really, really good. And I know I had concerns about this based on the number of kind of developers internally Activision had working on it. But I think those concerns, have been mitigated in a lot of ways. Those risks, so to speak. I think it looks fantastic, man. I'm right there with you. I can't wait for this. I'm gonna pre-order this probably this week at some point. I think it's up on the PlayStation Store. It just went up, so I'll pre-order this, and I'm really looking forward to it, man. I'm happy that you're considering going back and playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2018. I guess that's when that came out, but. That game's fantastic too. That's an amazing Call of Duty campaign. We're talking like one of the best. It is so good. It is so grounded. It is just it's everything that you want in a Call of Duty campaign, and then some. Such a good game. Such a good way to go back to kind of its. I hate saying this, going back to its roots, because I know they I feel like they say that every Call of Duty release. They say, "Oh, we're going back to our roots," But it really was. It was a fantastic Call of Duty campaign, and I'm happy that you've kind of seen the light here a little bit. It seems like you're sort of turning around a little bit and saying, okay, like seems like that Titanfall 2 campaign got a little, got that itch, going for these types of games. So gets me kind of excited. Yeah,
I will fully admit, playing Titanfall 2 sort of re-inspired me to playing these cover shooter games because Doom threw me all out of it. I played Doom and I'm like, I am not going back to a cover shooter ever again in my entire life. Not that Titanfall 2 is a cover shooter, but there are moments where it feels like that. However, I'm excited for this one. I really am. How does Modern Warfare 1 2018 remake, how does it stack up to Black Ops 1? Campaign, just campaign versus campaign.
I don't think it's as good as Black Ops. I think Black Ops is probably the best one of all of them. I do think it's just as good, if not better, than Call of Duty 4's campaign, and that's a fantastic campaign. I think you'd be in agreement there. There are missions in the 2018 Call of Duty Modern Warfare that are really special, like really, really dark, shockingly dark, to the point where you're like you can kill innocent people in this game. In Modern Warfare 2, when they had that sort of what was it, that the airport sequence that like got all sorts of publicity, right? Okay,
the one you could turn off. You could turn it off.
And the game told you that you could turn it off in the beginning, which was it was kind of mind-boggling. It's similar to that, but not nearly as bombarded, like not nearly as big, like Michael Bay, right? It's much more grounded, and like you actually have to sit there and think to yourself, like it's so good. It is so good. That might be a game that I got to give you at some point, because it's just moments like that, but far more, just taken with a lot more seriousness, and just very subtle also. So it's such a outstanding campaign, but I don't think it's as good as Black Ops. I wouldn't go in there thinking that, because Black Ops has the music, it has all the good vibes. But I don't know, man. You might think it's better. Honestly, you might. Wow. I know the way that you I know the kinds of games that you like in particular. This one's, it's special, man. It's a special Call of Duty campaign. There's no doubt about it.
That's really exciting that I get to go back to that and give it a shot because this new one looks great. And I haven't I think I said this before, but the last Call of Duty campaign that I dipped my toe into was, I want to say it was Black Ops 3. Is that the one with the guy from Wet Hot
Law and
American
Order.
Summer?
Yeah, Law and Order. Yeah,
Yeah, Law and Order / Wet Hot American Summer guy.
yeah, not a good Call of Duty campaign at all.
He was like
that
the
one.
chef, right? Wasn't he the chef in Wet Hot American Summer? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He's hilarious in that show. Yeah.
Yeah, oh, he's a great actor. We could go off on a whole tangent about him, but I don't remember his name. But I remember him in Call of Duty Black Ops 3, and I remember not liking it. And I got about 2 missions in, and I dropped Call of Duty and never picked it back up again. Because just all the other shooters I played were just... I can go on and on glowing about Doom and Doom Eternal, but I won't, because we have... Actually, as a matter of fact, that's a good segue into our next talking point. Doom 2016 is a free game on the new PlayStation Plus. That is our next talking point. The new PlayStation Plus is finally out. I'm talking the 3-tier system, fully loaded, PlayStation Essential, PlayStation Extra, and PlayStation Premium. Now, it came out in mid-June, and if you were already a PlayStation Essential subscriber, you were given the option of paying a prorated amount to upgrade to Extra or Premium. I ended up upgrading to Premium because it was about $5 to upgrade for 3 weeks. So I'm going to ride this Premium subscription out for the rest of the month, and then I'm going to downgrade to Extra. But Doom 2016 is one of the games on there. If you have PlayStation Extra, check out Doom 2016 if you haven't already. And then immediately play Doom Eternal. Those games are phenomenal. Vinny, what do you have to say about this new 3-tiered system? It's out. It's here. Talk to me about it.
Well, I hadn't picked this up yet. So I do have questions for you, considering you have already purchased this, because I do need a little bit more information on this. Let me ask you this first. Do they do a good job of showing you within the PlayStation Store what you're getting? Do they do a good job with it? I'm curious. How's the organization there? Is it is it kind of, does it make sense what you got?
Yeah, so you just click a button and it says PlayStation Plus games. And it brings up the whole catalog in the PlayStation Store. I think it was very smart the way that they did it, actually. Now, I wish that they did a better job of suggesting similar titles to ones that you've already played. That could definitely use some work. There's an algorithm that Xbox has from my limited exposure to Xbox Game Pass where it starts to recommend you games. Am I correct in this? Does Xbox have something like this? I'm pretty sure it does.
Yeah, and that's what it does. They do, and it's fantastic the way that they kind of present those games to you, like, hey, based on kind of what you've played in the past, here are some recommendations we have in our free catalog, within Game Pass. So that's actually why I was asking, because I think that's a big part about Game Pass that's really cool, is they present you with games that, maybe you hadn't even seen before. So I was just curious about that.
Yeah, Sony could definitely work on that a little bit as far as suggesting games to you. However, the way that they go about laying all the titles of the whole catalog out is not terrible. And I mean that in a good way. This is the first time that they're doing something like this, sort of combining 2 previous services that they had, and it could have been a lot worse. And it's not. It's pretty decent, I have to say. I also think that Premium is a waste of money. For me, at least. Like I said, I got Premium because it was a prorated amount for 2 weeks. It was $3 for Extra or $5 for Premium. I was like, let me get the $2 Extra upgrade for the podcast so I can talk about it. I downloaded a 2-hour game trial of Tiny Tina's Wonderlands because that's a game I've been wanting to check out. I've yet to play it. So I have to get back to you on that, but it's cool. It's cool that I have that option. I don't know if it's really that big of a deal, to be honest with you, the ability to demo a game. We talked about how we're in a new sort of generation of gaming, we don't really need demos anymore. We don't really need free trials anymore. Yeah, some games you can't really tell what you're getting until you get your hands on it. But with the advent of streaming and YouTube and gaming channels, you can always Google gameplay of a game, watch an hour or two of it, and sort of gauge whether or not it's a game for you. So if you're into game trials, yeah, this might be worth the extra $3 a month, but odds are premium's not really a big deal unless you are a diehard PS1 fan and you don't mind streaming the majority of your PS1 games and you want to get trophies for games like Siphon Filter because they are, as we've discussed already, they have trophy support now. That's a cool feature. But at the end of the day, premium's sort of a waste. The extra catalog is quite good. I will say that. You have games on there that are smash hits. Like, I've said it 15 times already. Doom. You have games like God of War, I believe. Is God of War on there? I know it was the free game of the month, but I'm pretty sure it's on the new service. As a matter of fact, I'll pull up the list right now. While I'm pulling that up, I do know some other games off the top of my head. It's kind of tough because some of the games I already own, so I just sort of brush them off and don't really look at them again. Horizon Zero Dawn is on there. I know that. I know... Did I say Death Stranding yet? I know Death Stranding is on there. That's a game I haven't played yet, but I'm looking to potentially check out. A lot of really solid games. A lot of really solid games. Now, it does not compete with Xbox yet. I will say that. But it definitely levels the playing field a bit more. Did I answer your question? I went off on a bit of a tangent. Did I answer your question? God of War, by the way, is, yes, one of those games.
Yeah, no, a lot more clarification there. I appreciate that. I think for me, we spoke about this when they announced this list. It's such a shame that PlayStation 3 games are through stream. I can't emphasize that enough because that would be, for me, the reason to get this would be for the PS3 games, but for the most part. But those I have to stream, which I do not want to stream those games. It's such a shame because I'm looking at the PS3 games that are on here. Infamous, Resistance 3. These are games that I like. Dude, I want to play Resistance 3 so bad. I never played it. That would be a perfect game for me to go into and just like see, okay, let me go check this one out. It's such a shame because
there's no way I'm streaming Resistance 3.
No way. Ninja Gaiden 3's on here. I mean, there's so many good PS3 games, and I cannot believe that they have not figured this out. And it tells me that they're never going to because they would have. With the launch of this service, it would have been. They would have said, "All right, like we're launching these. You can download them." But it seems like they really messed up with the hardware. I'm not sure what sort of from a technology standpoint what the problem was with these PS3 games.
Yeah,
but they can't figure it out, and it's so mind-boggling.
It's as far as I understand it, it has something to do with the PS3 cell processor. It wasn't super friendly to port games from PS3 to other consoles or PC or anything of that nature. So the way I understand it is PS3 games that are streamed on some sort of PS3, probably like a proprietary Super PS3 that is the same cell processor that just streamlines the games. Because I don't know if you've ever done it before, but when you do that, you kind of have the cross media bar from the PS3 and you have like a pseudo PS3 that you're streaming from. So that's sort of how it works.
Interesting. It's such a shame.
Yeah.
It's just such a shame that something like that happens to such a great catalog of games. They have to.
They got to figure it out because
it would have happened.
But that's Microsoft's kryptonite right there. They don't have the backlog of games that Sony does. And it's streaming is not the answer. It's never going to be the answer because there's always going to be places around the world that are not going to have the capabilities. It doesn't matter how prolific high-speed streaming, quality internet becomes. we are still going to have areas that are not going to be able to do it, and we are still going to have more of a need for downloadable games, especially when you get into the hardcore gaming scene, where that's going to be the bulk of the people that play these older games anyway. You're not going to have, casual gamers going back and playing PS3 games. You're going to have people like you and I who want to go back and play old Insomniac games. I want to play Resistance 3. I don't want to play it on a delayed 30 FPS where there's input delay because it's streaming somewhere in California and I'm on the East Coast. You know what I mean? It's just not going to work. So I 100% agree with you there. Here's one positive spin I will say. And I think Sony really did a good job thinking this through, sort of the timeline of everything. We talked about PS5s becoming more available in I think it was last episode or the episode prior. And this PlayStation Extra tier, the middle one where you get the whole games catalog, is absolutely perfect for a new PS5 owner. You get Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut, PS5 version. You get Spider-Man Miles Morales. You get God of War. You get absolutely unbelievable Sony games that if you're coming from a Nintendo console or an Xbox console, you haven't played these games. You know what I mean? And Sony has great first-party games. You get Returnal. You have Demon Souls. These games all come with this service. It's a great deal. It's honestly a no-brainer. And everybody that buys a PS5 from now until this service miraculously ends, if that would ever happen, which it's not going to, is going to get the extra tier. You know what I mean? The catalog of PS5 games on here is very impressive to me. It really is.
Yeah, man, I'm looking right now. I mean, Lawn Mowing Simulator is on here. We talked about that. Now that I actually pulled up the list of games, and that was like the third one on the list. So I was like, oh, I don't know what he's talking about here. But then, I'm looking, but I do see what you're talking about here. There's a lot of good games here.
Oh my God.
And you know what's another one that I'm seeing here is
what?
Guardians of the Galaxy. Right? We talked about this. That's an awesome, awesome game that looks amazing on next-gen consoles. It looks so
it's
good.
Great. It's great.
And you're right, man. Assassin's Creed Valhalla's on here. That's a part of the service. I mean, that's another really good game. I think that's definitely worth your time. And
I highly recommend Valhalla. I love that game.
It's a great game. Yeah, I still haven't beaten it yet, but it's a really good Assassin's Creed game. I mean, but you're absolutely right. You get the opportunity to play Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut, Returnal, Demon Souls. I mean, it's a no-brainer. You were spot on. Yeah, man, you were spot on with your analysis there. I think that PlayStation Plus Extra is the way to go. It especially if you're a new PS5 owner. It makes too much sense. These are $70 games. These are, I mean, between Demon Souls and Returnal, that's $140. Between just those two games. So, there's so much value here. So this is probably what I'm going to go with when I choose to upgrade. And it makes too much sense, man. I think it's a really good deal. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I will leave you with this. PlayStation Plus Extra is a better deal as far as first-party game, exclusive games than Xbox Game Pass is, in my opinion. I've seen the lineup for both of them. It's a better deal. If I've never played a video game in my entire life, and I asked me or you, hey, I want to pick up a console and play some console games, I would say, buy a PS5, subscribe to the extra tier. Here are the games you're going to play on that list. Spider-Man, Ghost of Tsushima, God of War. The list goes on.
I mean, you definitely have an argument there. I think if you're trying to impress them with games, I think that, not to get into, a huge debate here, I think that you have the opportunity, if you give someone Game Pass, here's Doom Eternal, here's the Elder Scrolls, here's, the Evil Within, here's every Bethesda game, here's every Halo game, here's every, pick one. What do you want to play? So I think I would choose Game Pass, but I do see your point here where there's incredibly well-made games here. Very impressive. So I do understand your viewpoint of here's Spider-Man, which is just that's like just such a good game to show people, the kind of what games are and why they're great. That's a great game to kind of show someone. And I see your point. I definitely do.
It's I forgot about some of the games that you brought up. I'm not gonna lie. Xbox has a stronger case than I remembered when I saw Game Pass, but the whole back catalog of Halo games, that's a pretty strong lineup there. What's gonna happen with the PlayStation? I don't remember exactly what it was called, but there was, if you owned PlayStation Plus and you had a PS5, you got a catalog of, I think it was 12 or 15 games that came with your PlayStation Plus subscription. Do you know what I'm talking about? It was I want to say that
God of War is on there. God of War is on there.
Right, God of War is on there.
Days Gone is on there. Those are still a
That's
thing.
yeah.
Those are still a thing. I know that because when I turned on my PlayStation a few days ago, I still see that in the PlayStation Store. When you go all the way to the right, there's I can't remember the name. It's like PlayStation Plus games.
It's like Classics Collection or something like that.
Yeah, some classic collection. There's the Crash Bandicoot and Sync trilogies there. There's a lot of good games actually in that little pack. Bloodborne is in there. I mean, my gosh, if you missed out on the PS4 era and you get a PS5, holy moly, you're gonna have so many games to play. So many.
I know.
So many amazing
That's what I'm
games.
saying.
And but yeah, there's definitely a debate there.
I think they're going to end up dropping that, to be honest with you. I think that was sort of an early adopter incentive for people who got PS5s a lot earlier on. I think they'll phase it out within the next year or two.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's long gone in a year or two from now.
If you don't have any other questions about the new PlayStation Plus for me, I am very excited to move on to our next two topics.
Let's do it, man. Let's rock and roll.
So, you mentioned the Square Enix sort of press conference that they had. It was phenomenal. They announced so many things, two things that I want to talk about today. The first of which is Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion. Now, for those of you that don't know, there was a little game on the PSP called Crisis Core. And it was a prequel to Final Fantasy VII, where you played as Zack. Now, this game was freaking amazing. It was one of the best, if not the best, PSP game that I've ever played. I never beat it, but I loved it. I really, really loved it. It was a combination of a Kingdom Hearts action RPG sort of style game with a little bit more traditional Final Fantasy mixed in there. And I remember loving it, and it has been over 10 years since I played this game, so I could be remembering some of it wrong, but that's how I remember it. Now, when you look at this trailer for Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion, it seems to be running on the Final Fantasy VII Remake engine. I don't know if that's officially confirmed or not, but it's almost certainly confirmed in the video. For better or worse, this is a one-off Final Fantasy VII Remake sort of expansion standalone sort of a game. And from that perspective alone, even if you know nothing about Crisis Core, even if you know nothing about the story of Final Fantasy VII, this is one to keep an eye on. Vinny, I'm going to toss it to you.
Yeah, man, this looks awesome. From what I saw from the gameplay trailer, I think it looks like a ton of fun. A game that I've never played, that I had never even heard of, to be honest with you, prior to this conference. I'd never even heard of it. I'm not like a massive, long time Final Fantasy fan. Like that's not me. Those games, I played the Final Fantasy VII Remake, which I thought was a 9, damn near 10 out of 10 game. I thought it was fantastic, and I think that my love and appreciation for that game, watching this trailer, I'm excited. I cannot wait to play this. I'm excited because I know nothing about it, which I think is getting me even more kind of, the anticipation is building for this one for me. When is this game coming out? Did they announce a release date for this one? I'm sorry, maybe did they say anything about a release date for Recore or Crisis Core? Excuse me.
I think it's coming out this year. I'm pretty sure I saw end of this year.
I was going to say, from the gameplay trailer, it looked like it was far along. Like everything, it did not look like a game to me that was early in development. Okay, yeah, so it is coming out this year, which to me couldn't be any better. I think that's going to be an awesome pickup. I think this is going to catch a lot of people off guard. I think you're absolutely right, where it's a game to keep your eye on, because I'm getting this game. I think it looks awesome from what we saw. I really do. Now, I want to ask, do we know a price point for this game? Is this game available for pre-order? Are they charging $70 for this game? Is this a $70 PS5 game? Is this a $40 game? What are we looking at here?
To me, using context clues, using the history of this game and sort of the value that they've given to remakes in the past. Remember we had the Birth by Sleep remake, which I still need to go back and finish that. I never finished all 3 plot lines in the Birth by Sleep remake. Anyway, that was part of a bundle of games that was, I believe, $60. So if they're selling this by itself, I would suspect that it's a $40 game.
Okay.
That would be
Yeah, that gets me even more excited for the game, to be honest. This is one of those games that I could tell I'm going to like when it comes out and I get the chance to play it, and I kind of hope that I forget about it, to be honest with you. A part of me hopes that I forget about this game, it comes out, and I go, oh shit, this is that Final Fantasy VII game that I saw, in June, and I thought it looked awesome, and it looks graphically really impressive. It looks like Final Fantasy VII Remake, like the same kind of graphics. Obviously not as, from the ground up remake. Like Final Fantasy VII is basically an entirely new game.
Yeah,
it doesn't necessarily look like, like from that standpoint, but it looks awesome, dude. I think this is on my radar. I couldn't agree more. I think this looks fantastic, and I thought they knocked it out of the park with this announcement. I think it caught a lot of people off guard in a good way. So, and I'm glad that they showed a lot of gameplay too. I think the gameplay looks awesome. I think it looks exactly like Final Fantasy VII, a little bit kind of. It just looks so good. It's so good.
Yeah, I was obsessed with this game. Like I said, it was 10 plus years ago. So it looked like, based on the trademarks at the end of the video we just saw, that it was 2007, 2008 time frame. So it was a long time ago, but I remember absolutely loving it. And it got good reviews too. I also remember that. Standout game on the PSP for sure. So the Final Fantasy VII Remake blueprint has really opened up the door tremendously for all these remakes, sequels, prequels, what have you. And that's awesome. I think we're going to see that with Kingdom Hearts 4 as well. You're going to get these games sooner than you think because the framework has been laid down, so to speak.
Yeah, man, I'm really, really excited. There's actually, not to throw us off topic here, And I want to ask your opinion on this. This stays in line with Square Enix as we're wrapping up Final Fantasy VII a little bit here, right? I saw an article and I looked it up as just now, just to make sure I wasn't taking crazy pills here. What do you think of this article that I read from the Square Enix conference? This is from IGN. The title of the article, this just came out 5 days ago. Kingdom Hearts 4's graphics power, quote, kind of limits the number of Disney worlds that can be included. This is from Tetsuya Nomura. This is the director of Kingdom Hearts 4. And it seems like we're not going to get a lot of Disney worlds in Kingdom Hearts 4. It seems like that's not going to be... What do you think about this title? I read the title and I'm skimming through the article right now to make sure that I'm not reading this wrong. The title of the article is Kingdom Hearts 4 will feature a few Disney worlds, at least, he says. So Kingdom Hearts 4's graphics power kind of limits the number of Disney worlds that can be included. Where this is going to be a PlayStation 5 game. How does that has to be a translation issue. This is an actual article on IGN that I'm reading through right now that, oh boy.
Okay. So I'm going to give you my one-word answer, and then we're going to make this a topic for next time, because you just put me on the spot and opened up a whole can of worms that I did not know about. That sounds like a giant excuse to me. I'm sorry. I love Tetsuya to death. He made one of my favorite games of all time. That's an excuse. They want to go in some weird direction with this game, and they want to say that, oh, we can't add Disney worlds because of graphics. That's lame, man. That's super lame. If you can put a Toy Story world together and make Buzz and Woody look exactly like they were in the movies on the PS4, don't tell me you can't do stuff like that on the PS5.
I think this article is misleading. I'm reading through the article now. I'll have to send it your way so we can talk about it next week. We're going to have to at least, and this is from IGN and it's still on their website. And from what I'm reading, it just feels a little misleading. We're going to have to talk about this next week to get some more clarification as we read through this.
Sounds like clickbait.
There's more to the story here than him saying this. I don't. Yeah. That's a very misleading clickbait article. So I remembered seeing that and I was like, I got to bring this up on the podcast because Anthony's going to shit his pants.
Yeah. So I want to move on though. I want to move on to our next topic because I know we're running a little lower on time than we usually have on our recording days. But our next topic is right in the same vein here. It's another Final Fantasy topic. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Yes, this is part 2 of the Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy. I have a lot to say about this, but Vinny, I'm going to let you speak first.
Okay, Anthony, this is a big one here. This is a huge game, huge announcement. I am really, no shocker here, ecstatic that this game's coming out. I'm also ecstatic that it's weirdly, I don't know why I'm ecstatic about this, but I'm happy it's called Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and that they announced that this is a 3-part kind of trilogy that they're taking in a different direction. It seems like they don't want people to know where they're going to take this. So it's not Final Fantasy VII Part 2 or called, Final Fantasy VII Part 2. This is Rebirth. So it seems like I'm really, really excited about this. Was impressed with the trailer. It seems like they're really far along already based on what, the director, I'm not going to try to pronounce his name because I'll embarrass myself. But based on his comments, it seems like they're already working on the 3rd game. So that tells me this game's really far along. So that has me real. Yeah, he's already said internally they're working on the 3rd, final, to the finale. And as you know from my gaming experience, I think I spoke about this early on and maybe in episode 0 of my top 10 games list, but I haven't beaten Final Fantasy VII Remake. Haven't beaten it yet.
I was about to
But
ask you that.
this, I know, I was going to say, I think for those of you that didn't, maybe missed our first episode, but I've played through the game 2 times. I probably have about 80 hours in the game. And both times I never beat it. I got to the end and I just got, I lost track of time. And what I did this week to celebrate this announcement was I re-downloaded the game on my PlayStation 5 and I'm going to beat it hopefully this week. I re-downloaded it. It's on my hard drive again. And I feel compelled to go out and beat this game because I'm right at the end. I'm going to have to, maybe watch some videos to kind of recap what the story was and what I was dealing with. But I'm so excited for this, man. This trailer reminded me how much I loved the original remake that came out a few years back. Also reminded me my goodness, how good it runs on PS5. It runs so much better on PS5 at 60 FPS. It's insane, the jump that is. But I really cannot wait for this. This is probably my most anticipated game of 2023 right now, I would say. And it's probably going to be going into the year, regardless of what's announced. Unless something, a complete curveball is announced. This is, I can't wait. I really can't wait. What about you? I know you're excited, but what are your thoughts on the trailer? What did you think?
So I just wanted to let you know, I don't know if you were aware of this or not, but Crisis Core, or whatever the new Crisis Core is being called, that's coming out this winter. They've announced that Rebirth is coming out the following winter. So
yeah, next year.
Yeah, so it'll be the end of 2023, but they'll probably delay it. In all honesty.
Did I say it was coming out this year? I may have misspoke.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe I misheard what you said. I thought you said something about it potentially coming out this year, but I could have been wrong. Anyway, this game is, maybe I don't have a lot to say about it because I'm just so excited. It's really, I don't think I have as much to talk about as I really thought I did. It's the first game is one of my favorite games of all time. It's an absolute amazing, it's a masterpiece in my opinion, the first game. The way that it has an entire story arc and still leaves it with a cliffhanger, but it's still a complete story. It functions as a full game on its own. It is a great game from start to finish. It's a masterpiece, man. And all they have to do is make Rebirth half as good as Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I will happily spend $70 on it. That's how much I love the first one. I'm just overall really, really excited for this, and very happy that they're giving us something to hold us over in Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion. It's really exciting that we get an additional piece of the story. Now, you had Final Fantasy VII. In order to play the PS5 version, you needed to buy Intergrade, right? Is that
That's
correct?
Right. Yeah, you would have had to have bought the Intergrade. But if you own the game, I don't think I bought an upgrade or anything like that for Final Fantasy VII. Not for the original Final Fantasy VII. I was an original owner of the PS4 digital version, and that, I want to say I didn't pay anything for my upgrade. Okay. I think it was a free upgrade initially.
No,
but I didn't get an Intergrade. Yeah.
Is the name of... They have some bizarre names, by the way. But whatever. You take what you can get. Square Enix makes amazing games. Name the games however you want to name them, I guess. Rebirth, I agree, is a good name. But Intergrade is the PS5 upgrade, and it includes the Yuffie DLC. So I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure in order to play it on PS5, even if you already owned it on PS4, you had to upgrade and get the version with the Yuffie DLC. So the reason why I ask is I'm pretty sure you have the Yuffie DLC. I talked about Crisis Core. You should also play the Yuffie DLC once you beat Final Fantasy VII, the first part, because the Yuffie DLC, it's very quick and it's very good. It's worth your time. So just to let you know, I would check and see. You go in the main menu and it asks you if you want to switch between Remake and Final Fantasy VII Intergrade. So just check that out and let me know. Get back to me on that because I think you'll enjoy it. I really do. And I think if you're just looking for more Final Fantasy VII Remake, it's definitely worth your time. You get a new character. You get Yuffie. She's a fun character to play as.
I'll definitely check that out. You know, one thing that kind of stood out to me about this as well, just to kind of piggyback off of that, but as you were kind of talking, Final Fantasy 16 comes out next year too, right? So we're getting a lot of Final Fantasy. And Forspoken. Okay, you and that game. I'm. You know what? I almost want to put it out here on the podcast right now. I'm starting to not believe in Forspoken. I feel like you're hyping it up too much for me to get excited. I think that this game, I'm starting to get that feeling of this is about to be a real just disappointment on the podcast for you. This Forspoken
How many
game.
bets do you want to lose, Vinny? My God,
we
could take another
you and
double or nothing
Forspoken
bet
though.
here.
I mean,
Forspoken's going to be amazing. The story is going to be a little weird, but the gameplay is going to be amazing. Don't hate on Forspoken.
Okay.
Come on now.
I'm not going to. It just seems like I don't know. Seems like you're under some spell not to, you know. Is she a wizard or something? Like, you know, I wanted to do a little pun there with the Forspoken character, but I don't know. But anyways, think about it, because we're getting the, what was it? The Crisis Core remake this year, right. Final Fantasy 7. We're getting Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth in next winter. And we're getting Final Fantasy 16 next year. So that's a lot of Final Fantasy over the next year and a half. I can't say that I'm upset. I'm excited. But I'm interested to see how they space these games out. Because it sounds like if this game's coming out in winter, the likelihood is that 16 is going to come out before this. So 16 is probably going to come out in spring or early next year. Okay, that's right. Wow. So they have summer. Wow. Okay, so it's going to be back to back.
Yeah, because we announced it. We announced it on our podcast, summer of 2023, because we had that, you know, rumor going around that Forspoken might get delayed in favor of Final Fantasy 16. Remember?
That's right. So, man, second half of next year, we're going to get just bombarded with a bunch of Final Fantasy games to play.
I'm fine with that.
Hopefully two fantastic games. I wish they were kind of spaced apart a little bit. Maybe we'd get one a little bit earlier, but... You know, hey man, I'm down. I'm excited. You know, I think we're both like you said. There's only so much you could say about this because I think we're both ecstatic about it. There's no bad things that we could say about this. Can't wait.
I mean, they could screw it up. They could find a way to screw it up, but I don't know. Square Enix they're kind of hitting home runs a lot lately, and you know they've had their ups and downs like any other really, really polished AAA studio has. But, you know, just embrace it. They have a lot of great games coming out, and they're really doing it right. A lot of people thought Final Fantasy VII Remake was going to be an absolute disaster. A lot of people thought that it wouldn't stack up to the original game. And I didn't play the original game, but I've gathered from the people that have, it is just as good. Some people even claiming that it is better than the original Final Fantasy VII. So, you know, Square Enix, like I said, they're hitting home runs right now. And you got to give them credit. It's going to be hard to screw this up. I really don't think they will. I'm very optimistic about these games. And take your time. If you need to delay Forspoken, if you need to delay Rebirth, if you need to delay Final Fantasy Crisis Core Remake, delay the games. Okay? We will wait happily. I will, at least. And I think Vinny's nodding his head. He's drinking some water right now, but I'm pretty sure he's in agreement there.
Complete agreement.
Right? Okay.
That's right,
He's
man.
done drinking water now. Just to give you guys a little insight onto the behind the scenes PSBlue podcast.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yes, the water has... No, I'm not even going to get into detail on the water. We're not going to go that far off script.
The water has traveled down his esophagus. What are we talking about?
Stop it there.
I think we're talking about Overwatch 2. I think that's what we're talking about. So the game has been announced as a free-to-play game, Overwatch 2. There was a reveal event that happened very recently. I know next to nothing about Overwatch. I played it when it first came out for about a month. And after that, I literally stopped playing it. Vinny is a huge Overwatch fan, so I'm going to happily hand it over to him, where he is going to guide us through this.
That's right, man. I'm ecstatic about this. This was the biggest news of the week last week for me, personally. Massive Overwatch fan. Like you said, probably the best, in my opinion, FPS multiplayer game of all time. In my opinion, it just is. This, to me, is an excellent kind of rebound. It seems internally this game was just under development hell over the last few years. They made the mistake of kind of announcing Overwatch 2, not making any content for Overwatch 1 over the last 3.5 years. It's essentially been the exact same game over the last 2 years. No new heroes, no new maps, no nothing like that. The only thing that they've done is add crossplay, which is great, but not additional content. So this is a huge, huge deal to the Overwatch community out there. I think that going free to play is the right call. The biggest part to me, and this might stick with you a little bit, is they announced they're removing loot boxes from the game. The Overwatch 2, when this game launches, will not have loot boxes. They're moving to a battle pass system. That's right, Anthony, our favorite battle pass. But I'll tell you what, I would 1,000% rather have a battle pass than randomized loot boxes. And they said they want to give players the ability to buy what they want to buy. We don't want to have any sort of, random number generator, dictating what you guys get. Nothing like that. So that to me is very exciting. I'm very happy that it's free to play. It's 5v5 now. I'm not going to get into the, nitty gritty of what they're changing here. I'm very excited. I'm a little taken aback by just it seems like we're not getting it doesn't feel like Overwatch 2, if that makes any sense. We're getting 3 new heroes. We're getting 6 new maps. But the biggest part about this is that we're finally getting recurring content to this game, which I cannot. There's an actual roadmap for Overwatch 2, which is just mind-blowing for Overwatch players. So I'm excited about that. But let me get into one thing real quick, because this is something I need you to bear with me here, because this is something that I have to complain about on the podcast, because we know that the good folks over at Sony like to listen to our podcast, and they like to take what we say with, the utmost certainty, or the utmost seriousness, excuse me.
Of course.
I had, without a doubt, my worst experience in the PlayStation Store in my entire life with regards to this game. And allow me to explain my situation.
Okay.
And I'm curious to see if you've ever had a situation like this happen, where we're talking I had to contact support, which I've never done in my entire life.
Oh my God.
So let me walk you through this scenario. Let me guide you through this path. Overwatch 2 gets announced, and basically what they announced was it's obviously going to be free to play, but there's something referred to as an Overwatch 2 Watch Point Pack. So what the Overwatch 2 Watch Point Pack is, it's $40, okay? It's a $40 purchase. This is on PlayStation 5, Xbox, and PC, okay? $40. For $40, you get, and I know, you can sit over there and be snarky all you want, but I understand it's a free-to-play game, but this is my favorite game of all time. So what you get with this Watchpoint Pass is, allow me to explain what's included. You get the Legendary Edition of Overwatch 1 immediately. This is something that's given to you. It comes with a bunch of skins. It comes with, some currency, things like that. It also comes with early access to the beta. So basically, Overwatch 2 has a beta coming out in 2 weeks. I figured, you know what? I'll spend the $40. I love this game. I've never bought a loot box in my life. I've never spent any really any money on this game since I bought it. So allow me, I'll give them $40. I'll get access to the beta. You also get a whole bunch of skins when the game releases in October. So I go to the PlayStation Store, and it's the first thing that pops up is the Overwatch 2 Watchpoint Pack. I'm like, okay, great. This is ideal. They probably know me. Probably understand that I'm going to buy this because I'm a huge Overwatch fan. So I go into it. I buy the Overwatch Watchpoint Pack. I get charged $40. Okay. Now, I have Overwatch on disc, the original Overwatch. So what I did was I removed the disc and I deleted it, because the Watchpoint Pack comes with the Legendary Edition of Overwatch, the digital version. So I'll have the, I figured, what? PS5 makes kind of a loud noise when I play it on disc. I'll just download, the game digitally, since I have the access now.
That makes sense.
Right? So anyways, I go to my purchase history. I could see that I bought it. I was charged $40. I got a receipt from Sony. I go to the game, and you know how typically you buy a game, it goes download. It offers you to download it after you buy it within the PlayStation Store.
Right.
I see $39.99 buy now. And I'm thinking to myself, I just bought this. Why are they asking me to buy it again? This doesn't make any sense. So I don't have any ability to download the game at all. It doesn't even show up as I own it, but I was charged. And so I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. It allows you to purchase this game. I looked online. People have mistakenly bought this game like 4 times in a row because they thought it didn't go through. There's a huge glitch with this Watchpoint pack where they're charging you, but you're not getting any of the content. So basically, I don't own Overwatch Legendary Edition right now. I bought this pack. I've never seen it like this where you buy something and it lets you buy it again. That's never, unless it's some sort of currency or something like that, right? But if you buy a product, you buy a game, there's no way that you can multi-charge somebody for a game. There's a huge glitch. So I contacted Sony. They said that they're aware of the issue. It's a big problem, but it's still on the store. So for those of you that are looking out, going to try and buy the Overwatch Watchpoint pack, just hold off just a little bit. I know you want access to that beta, but man, I was pissed because now I had to reinsert the disc, download that version of Overwatch. I'm like, great, well, this is just wonderful, but it still hasn't been fixed. It's been about 3 days. It's still asking me to buy it again. Like I said, people are just buying this over and over again because they're thinking it's not going through, but it's charging them every single time. So just something that I had never experienced before in a PlayStation Store situation. Not to go on a huge tangent there, but it's something, to keep your eye out for. I just had never seen anything like that. What are your thoughts? Have you ever experienced something like that in the PlayStation Store?
The only thing that I can say is sort of similar to that is I had a situation one time where I downloaded Uncharted 4 for the PS4, and then it seemed like I was going to get... Oh, this is what it was. It said that it was like $10 to upgrade to Uncharted Lost Legacy collection if you already owned Uncharted 4. But I had the digital version of Uncharted 4, but it didn't let me upgrade. It said I didn't own it, but it would also let me download it. So it was a sort of similar situation. It let me download it, but when I went to the PlayStation Store, it said purchase here. So very similar situation. So yeah, I have had something like that happen. And I still haven't finished Uncharted 4, believe it or not, because I haven't been able to get my hands on the PS5 version. Knowing that what version is out, I can't even, go back to the PS4 version.
Well, let me ask you this, Anthony, because there's one more instance of a PlayStation mishap within the store that
Puzzle Quest?
You failed to... you failed to tell our viewers a little bit about Puzzle Quest, if you don't mind, a brief synopsis.
Oh,
I know this is off topic, but very quickly, if you don't mind, because you got to remind me what happened with this situation. This is a big deal for our, for me and you, and I feel like the viewers deserve the opportunity to listen to you explain our Puzzle Quest.
Yeah,
problem.
Absolutely. I'll tell them about our Puzzle Quest, if you will, that we went on when we were young teenagers. So Vinny and I used to be troublemakers, and we would share games on PlayStation 3 because they just let you do it. It was something that you could do if you had somebody else's login. You could download their games and then switch your login to your own login, and we would split games like that. Yes, I'm admitting it publicly. We did.
Jeez, man, you're really putting yourself out there right here.
Yeah, I'm putting it all on the line here. So yeah. I think everybody did that during the PS3 era. You could share games pretty much. So one game that we wanted to play together as young, bright-eyed 13, 14-year-olds was a little game called Puzzle Quest. So Vinny and I had a very, very slim budget when we were young, and we decided to spend $25, $12.50 each, which was a lot of money at the time for us, on this game Puzzle Quest, because we could play it co-op or versus, and it was going to be fun, and puzzle games were very in at the time. So we decided to download the game. I purchased the game unknowingly, buying the PSP version. I contacted Sony. I said, oh crap, I bought the PSP version of this game. Can I please have access to the PS3 version of it? Sony was not helpful at all. They were not responsive, and they pretty much said, SOL, like, you're out of luck. Sorry, buddy. You clicked PSP. Look at the version of the game that you're buying next time. And, I think it was a karma situation. I think the PSP version, it must have glitched out because there's no way I would have clicked PSP. No, I'm joking. I definitely selected the wrong version of the game. Why did they let you buy the PSP version on the PlayStation 3 store? That's my thing. I bought it on the PlayStation 3 store, in my defense. Okay? But we saved a lot of money over the last few years splitting games like that. And, some people call us scumbags, and I would tend to agree with them. The 13, 14-year-old Anthony and Vinny were pretty scummy, I have to say. Does that answer your question, Vinny?
That does. I just wanted you to admit it openly that you purchased the PSP version. Let me reiterate, just for those of you that missed it. Anthony bought the PSP version of Puzzle Quest when he was 13 instead of the PlayStation 3 version. Cost me $12.50. You jackass. That was a lot of money back then, man. I was broke. Cost us each and just I wish we could go back in a time machine, just be a fly on the wall to watch our reactions of us realizing that you had bought the PSP version of that damn game.
Yeah. It was my God. You're bringing up the most random stuff tonight, and it's really funny because Vinny has work in the morning tomorrow, and we pushed the podcast recording to like a lot later than we normally do it. And Vinny's like, I got to be off by a certain time. Meanwhile, he's bringing up 15-year-old Anthony Misclick.
I know, I'm just bringing up the most bizarre
he's trying
stories.
To trigger me with some Kingdom Hearts.
At this point, I'm up. Let's rock and roll. I'm ready.
Oh my God. Okay, let's reel it in, please.
Remember the time?
I admit it. Okay, I admit it. I clicked on the wrong version of Puzzle Quest. Why you could buy the PSP version on the PS3 store, God only knows. Okay? Horizon VR, Call of the Mountain. Listen, if you need help purchasing the PSVR2, I will give you $12.50 toward it because I will not be purchasing one. Vinny is our PlayStation VR ambassador. He has said it openly on the podcast. When the PSVR2 comes out, Vinny will be buying it and giving his impressions. And one game that was announced, a very big announcement at State of Play, Horizon VR, Call of the Mountain. Vinny.
This looks really good, man. It seems like this is their big sort of launch title. I'm assuming this is going to launch alongside the PlayStation VR 2. Whether that be this year, I'm starting to think that it's not going to come out later this year. I feel like they're sticking to that date, but it just hasn't been, set in concrete yet. I know they keep saying this year, but I'm starting to think it's going to get delayed to next year, to be perfectly honest with you, because we just haven't heard much about, a launch date. And at this point, I feel like we would have heard something. But back to Horizon, I think this looks awesome. I think this is an ideal world for a VR game, to be honest with you. Sort of the skyscraper, particularly I know in Horizon, the original Horizon, they had those long neck, mechanical dinosaurs that were really big. I think seeing one of those in VR is going to be freaking awesome. I think you're going to get kind of that impact of actually how large these sort of creatures are. I think that VR for dinosaurs and things like that, it's insane because it's way more. You just get more fearful. You get that sense of scale and that sense of size for these things. And I think Horizon is a great world to feature in VR. I think it looks beautiful. Also, I think graphically this looks really impressive. Actually, shockingly good, to the point where I was like, oh shit, this is some good looking VR here. This is going to be a very beautiful game. Now, my fear with this game that kind of stood out to me is how much freedom are we going to have here? I'm assuming this is not open world. There's no way it's going to be an open world game. I'm a little worried that a lot of it is going to be on rails. It kind of seemed like it was on rails, which is fine, but I'm interested to see how much gameplay is actually in here. I think if I had to, I'm a little worried about its length. That's another thing. I don't want to see a demo. I don't want to see a Horizon demo. I hope that's not what this is. I hope it's not a demo for what the PlayStation VR2 can do. I hope this is an actual game that's like, 8 to 10 hours. If I had to guess, it's probably like 4 to 5 hours. I'm a little fearful of that, but I'm excited, man. This is. I mean, I'm gonna buy this when I get my PSVR. This is gonna be kind of that like, wow, like this is what this thing's capable of kind of game. Kind of the show off game, right? This is that game for Sony, so I'm excited that they're making it. Seems like they're really, I'm happy it's Guerrilla too. It's not some off-brand studio internally, nothing like that. This is Guerrilla proper, and I can't wait. I can't wait to experience this. What are your thoughts on what you saw? Are you in agreement with me? Do you think it looks as beautiful as I do? I think it looks stunning for a VR game.
I have literally no comment.
No comment. Wow.
I don't care about VR at all. I'm sorry.
Wow.
I get it. I've tried VR. You actually brought over the Oculus Go a long time ago. That was my first exposure to VR. I get it, but I don't get it. Like, it's just not for me, I guess. I don't ever see a world where video game storytelling is going to be virtual reality first and traditional video games second. VR is always going to be this peripheral sort of gimmick, if you will. Sony doesn't have a handheld anymore. Microsoft doesn't have VR, so this is what separates them from Microsoft now. And I get why they're pushing it. And it does look gorgeous. It does. I agree with you. Will it look like that on the actual headset? We'd have no idea. Have you seen this headset? Has anybody seen this headset?
I know there's images of it out there. I know they've released press images of it, but I don't necessarily know if people have had like hands-on time with it. I'm assuming, Anthony, it's going to look like this. I would be pretty surprised. Sony's pretty good with releasing gameplay and holding up, to that level.
That they are.
Maintaining that level. I don't think they're not the kind of company that would put something out there that's, ill-willed or just not real. I could be wrong, but if this was EA, I'd be a little bit more worried. But this is Sony we're talking about here. This is also Guerrilla too, who I think
I will say that. Yeah, that's
transparent studio.
The direction I was gonna go with this. Sony is not going to take one of its IPs and one of its biggest studios, like Horizon, like Guerrilla Games, and set them up for failure. They're not going to release something that isn't true to what they will produce. So I'm going to backpedal a little bit and say that, like, they're not going to put Horizon on the line and ruin Horizon's reputation by creating a subpar VR experience. It'll be no less than good. I'm not saying it's going to be great. It does look like an on-rails thing, and maybe that's how they get the graphics to be that good, because it's a very narrow field of view. It's a very small world that is going to be rendered from a graphics perspective. So that's probably maybe, as I'm talking out loud, maybe they will be able to get something this beautiful looking out there. Maybe it just means the PSVR2 is going to cost $500. You know what I mean? I don't know if there's a price point for it yet, but it'll be interesting to see if there's a market for this. It really will be. It really will be. And I think that there might be. There very, very well might be. Obviously, there's some sort of market, or they wouldn't have done VR2.
Well, let me throw this in there, Anthony, as well. I don't know have you seen the images of the PSVR2 controllers and the headset, at all?
Yes.
The controllers
so much better than
the controllers. And the controllers have the haptic feedback. They have haptics,
yeah.
Dude, it's gonna be sweet. Like pulling back a bow with that. Yeah. No, I have no idea. And they
Yeah.
have all kinds of different. They have, I think, like eye tracking as well, which is new for VR. Like where they actually like see where your eyes are kind of
Oh wow.
going as opposed to your head. So
Wow.
it has that sort of added immersion. I
Okay.
think they're going to have a lot of cool things here that are going to maybe catch people off guard. I think that, you know, another game. I don't mean to go off topic here, and I know we're running late here, but Resident Evil 8 is coming to VR. I know Resident Evil 7 came to VR on PlayStation 4, and that got amazing reviews. Like, apparently it runs perfect. Like, it runs exactly as it should. Resident Evil 7, excuse me. Resident Evil 7 VR on PlayStation VR is one of the highest rated VR games on the console.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And Resident Evil 8 is now getting a VR 2, launch. So I'm going to replay that. I think that's the game that I'm most excited for, to be honest with you, because I think that's the kind of game that VR is made for. I think it's going to be awesome. That baby sequence in VR is going to be insane.
Oh no.
Oh my god.
Hell
I can't
no.
wait.
I'm not playing that.
Oh my
in
god,
VR.
it's going to be so cool.
Oh my
I,
god.
like genuinely cannot wait. But they're doing a lot of cool things here. I think that you need to keep your eye out for VR. I think there's a possibility here that this is going to be bigger than. I know PSVR 1 was a big success from what we've heard from Sony, and it seems like obviously it was because they're doing a second one. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited. I think you're going to turn on this one though. Eventually, you'll have to come
Maybe.
over and try out the headset to get your impressions, and
Yeah.
we'll have to
Yeah.
we'll have more down the line.
Here's the last thing I'll say. Um, we're in a weird situation here because we are headed in this direction of 4K. We are headed in this direction of 60 FPS. We are headed in this direction of ray tracing and beautiful open landscapes and graphics that are just getting to a point where it's almost looking like reality. I talked about how The Quarry, for me, it doesn't look uncanny valley anymore. These performances and the actors are really coming through. I mentioned that on the last podcast. How do you go from that back in time to the PS4 era in visual fidelity with the VR? There's no way you're going to be able to produce image quality on the level of the PS5 and Xbox Series X that you're going to have on the VR2. You know what I mean? Like, it'll be probably more in line with the PS4's graphical capabilities, which is still, don't get me wrong, unbelievable. But are we going to be... Will our brains be willing to go down a generation for the sake of virtual reality? Does that make sense?
I think so. I think that's a reasonable, compromise. I think so. I mean, some of the best virtual reality games have the worst graphics, and they're totally fine, and they're a ton of fun as well, like a lot of fun. And so I think it's a reasonable trade-off there. I would, it doesn't bother me that my, PSVR 2 version of Resident Evil 8 doesn't look as good as the PS5 on my OLED TV. That's totally fine. It's probably going to, not to say it is going to be a more immersive experience in VR. That's just by nature of what you're doing. So I think that's what it's all about, is immersion. So, I'll be interested to see if this thing gives me headaches, which would happen from time to time with, Oculus. So be interested to see how I'm hoping that the eye tracking fixes that. I think that's something that they've said. So it seems like it's a known, problem. But I almost feel like that would make things worse. So we'll see. I guess you got to try it on, to really get I just can't wait to get my hands on this and the controllers. I think the controllers are probably my most anticipated feature because of how good the DualSense is. They just blew it out of the water. Yeah. So I can't wait to see what they could do with more just adaptive triggers in a VR world. I think it's gonna be sweet. I think it's gonna be so cool. Can't wait.
Yeah, that's a really great point. If VR2 is more successful than the first VR that Sony had, they win the... Unfortunately, we have console wars again. They're in full effect right now with all the studio acquisitions and stuff like that. But I think Sony wins if VR is as big of a deal as you think it could be. And with that being said, I wanted to mention one more thing really quickly that was at State of Play. And it is a little game by the name of Tunic. Now, this game is available on Game Pass and Xbox One and Series X/S, but it was just announced that it is also coming to PS4 and PS5 in September. So, right around the corner. Now, this is a little game that a bunch of other games on the indie side were announced at State of Play, but this was the one that stuck out to me. And the reason why this stuck out to me is because I also played a game called Death's Door when I had what I believe was COVID, even though I tested negative for it. I beat it in like 2 days because I had nothing else to do but recover from this, what I assume was COVID. And this game gives me a lot of the same vibes. Vinny, do you have any experience with Tunic or Death's Door? He's taking a
So
sip of
I've
water,
played a
by the way.
little bit. I've played. I've played a little bit of Death's Door. We're talking like minutes, so
Okay.
not a lot. I love what I see from this game as well. I think those games. I know I could tell that I'm gonna love those games, right? This looks a lot. I don't want to say Hades. Did you ever play Hades
Yeah.
or no?
Yeah.
Okay,
I love
so
Hades.
Hades I loved. I thought Hades was a fantastic game, but not to say that this game looks like that, but that's kind of what it reminds me of in terms of the, its overall style. But I think this looks really cool, man. This is, I'm assuming this is like what, a $20 game, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
Has to be. So those types of games usually catch me off guard, and they end up being my favorite games on the console. So this is one that I'm excited for. I think it looks really good. And like you said, I think Death's Door is on my list of games I really do want to play. It's like a Dark Souls sort of thing.
Yes.
And this does look a lot like Zelda, though. I get like Zelda vibes from Tunic more than I do, Death's Door. That's for sure. But this looks really good. Hey man, color me intrigued. I think this looks good.
Yeah, and like I said, it is available on Game Pass, but I think this was a big get for Sony because they were this was missing. When this game came out, it was sort of a big deal in the indie game community, and I saw some videos on it, and I was like, wow, this looks awesome. And I had just played Death's Door, and I keep comparing those two games, and I think they're more similar in art style than they are in actual gameplay. But I was in the mood for something similar, and I saw Tunic, and I was so excited to play it, and then I come to find out it's only available on Xbox, and more than that, it's on Game Pass. So that was a bummer for me, but I'm happy that it was announced at State of Play, and it's just something I wanted to talk about for a little bit. I think you need to go back and play Death's Door. That game is great. I beat it, like I said, in like 2 or 3 days. It's exactly what you said. It completely surprised me, and it came out of nowhere.
Okay. I think that like you said, it seems like that game caught you at the right time too. So that's
Right.
I think it's a lot about timing. So that to me would be ideal. Yeah, you're home for a few days. Why not try this game out? And I think it looks really good. I think it's a game that I'm going to play. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure we gave some attention to some of the indie games that were announced to be coming to Sony consoles in this June State of Play, and this was my favorite looking one. So, with that being said, we are going to wrap up the episode as always with a for your consideration. Today I'm going to be reviewing Titanfall 2. I'm also going to get a new game in the action-adventure genre. So first, let's do that, Vinny. I beat Titanfall 2. I'm moving on to a new genre of games, and the genre is action-adventure. I gave you Sifu, and you are going to give me what?
Okay, Anthony. I thought long and hard. Action-adventure. What's a game that has a ton of action?
Uh-huh.
No, I'm just kidding. It does have a ton of action, but a lot of adventure. Far more adventure than action. Okay.
I don't like
far more adventure than action, but
I don't like
it might be a reach here. But I know, I know. I'm making it seem like it's terrible. It's not. The game that I'm going to give you for action adventure, stretching that genre a little bit, is Death Stranding. I'm giving you Death Stranding. It's easy. It's a part of the PlayStation Plus. It's a part of the PlayStation Plus, benefits. You don't even have to spend any money on this bad boy.
Wow.
You just go ahead and download it, and then I don't think you're gonna. I'll just say this right now, not to harp on this too long. You won't be able to beat this game. I'd be stunned if you beat it. I'd be like, there's
Really?
no way. I haven't even beaten this game. I think it's like, I'm not sure the exact length. I don't think it's like 50 hours or anything like that, but it's a really good game, and I cannot wait to talk about this one with you, to talk about your impressions of it. It's so out there. It's so unique, and it's really controversial, I think, within the PlayStation community. So I think it's going to be a fun topic when you finally get your hands on this and play it. So that's your action adventure. I'm just going to call it adventure. That's your adventure
Don't you just
game.
walk around? Isn't that like the whole game?
That's why I said it was way more adventure than action. You are playing a walking simulator, and let me just put it out there. Let me just say this. One of my favorite games on PlayStation consoles. One of.
Really?
It's right up there. I'm surprised I didn't have it as an honorable mention on my list, but it would be. I love this game. I think it is so relaxing to play. It really is, and it's so out there, and it's just a nice game that you don't have to sit there and focus the entire time. You can kind of hang back, play it, enjoy it for what it is. A very unique experience. I can't wait to see what you think. I'm curious,
I'm intrigued.
This might be a love it or hate it might be a love it or hate it kind of game. It
Really?
might be. So I'm curious to see if you're going to take the other stance on this one.
I really thought you were going to go with Jedi Fallen Order. Like, I thought you were going to do this whole Respawn thing where you just kept giving me Respawn games to play. And I was all ready for Jedi Fallen Order. I really thought that's the game you were going to give me. So, wow, this is kind of out of left field. But I got to say, I'm happy to give it a shot. I've always been curious about this game ever since the first trailer. I was not so... what's the word? I'm trying to find a word. I wasn't so excited to run out and spend money on this game. That was the thing for me. Like, how do you spend money on something that you don't even know what it is? Because there's so much mystery surrounding Death Stranding. I know next to nothing about it except you have a baby and it's a walking simulator. But other than that, it's a game that's supposed to be very intriguing, very different, very out there. I just don't like taking a chance with my money like that. So the fact that it's on PlayStation Plus Extra is a great reason to pick this game up now. I'm very, very, very happy about it, to be honest with you. I don't know if I'm going to beat it. I might say this is really stupid and turn it off, but I'm willing to give it a shot. So,
which, by the way, is totally possible that you're. Okay. This is one of those games that I'm actually a little fearful you're going to do that, because it's so different than anything you've probably ever played. I just hope you give it the opportunity that you feel it deserves.
I mean, I have to,
and we'll talk about it. We'll just. I mean, you could go in 10 minutes and say this isn't for me. That's possible, but just give it a puncher's chance. Let it. Okay. I think it's once it gets its hooks in you. That's when I think. I'm hopeful that's what happens. I'm hopeful it gets its hooks in you like it did me, and you actually enjoy the process of walking and delivering these packages. And I'll just leave it at that. But let's get back to that Titanfall 2 review. I gave you this game 2 weeks ago, and it seems like you liked it based on our early conversations in the podcast. I am excited to hear what you have to say about it. So let's get to that.
Okay. Titanfall 2 review. This game, it's great. Okay? I'm just going to come right out and say it. It is great. Now, I don't know how the multiplayer is. I tried to actually go into a multiplayer match after I beat the game. And that's how much I liked the gameplay. I downloaded Apex Legends after, tried to play that. Like I said, I immediately deleted it. And I also tried the multiplayer in Titanfall 2. And as you know, Vinny, I don't really play multiplayer games anymore. There was a time in my life where I used to be obsessed with multiplayer games. But I'm more of a single-player gamer now. So for me to do that, it says a lot about what Respawn has done here. The gameplay is so tight. The shooting is so it just feels good to play. I don't know how else to describe it, but now let me get some clarification from you on this one. This was made from a group of people that worked on Modern Warfare, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. I hate that there's two Modern Warfares and we've been talking about them because it really makes it hard for for our conversations. But is that correct? The first Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, those people worked on this game. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. Those are some of the higher ups of that Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. Moved to EA, created Respawn. That would be Vince Zampella, who kind of heads the whole department, was pivotal in Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare's sort of gameplay and its, campaign. So yes, that's absolutely correct. These are sort of veterans of that game.
Yeah, and it shows. It instantly shows. You pick up the controller, and it just feels good. I know I said that already, but I want to reiterate. It just feels good. Now, the other thing that I said when I was receiving this game for your consideration, I said, is it a cover shooter? I don't want to play a cover shooter. Now, it turns out, yeah, it sort of is a cover shooter at some points, but it's way, way more than that. It really is. Not only is it a cover shooter, it's an action-adventure game. It has some run-and-gun elements to it where you're not just sitting behind cover and shooting. There are certain areas of the game that you can just completely run through if you want to, and I did that a couple times. Why? Because the story was pushing me in that direction. And the story is also really, really well done. Now, another thing I'll say about this game is I'm surprised at how much I enjoyed the Titan gameplay. I really didn't think I was going to like that aspect of the game. I thought I was going to kind of get through that and enjoy the shooting more. But BT is a great companion. And, I don't think we have to spoiler alert this game. I might say spoiler alert for one section that I want to talk about, but the story's pretty cliche. I will say that. Sort of the arc of the story, what happens at the end, I kind of saw coming the entire time, as I'm sure you did as well. But the story, it's kind of cliche, but it's very well done and it's very well paced. Okay? It just kind of lets you go. You know what I mean? And I was intrigued to pick up different guns. I was intrigued to grab different weapons and just to fire them off because that's how great the gunplay is in this game. It's a very short campaign as well, which is great because if I was new to the Titanfall universe, which is the same universe as Apex Legends, another reason why I tried that game. But if I was new to this universe, this would be the absolute perfect introduction to get me to play Titanfall 2 multiplayer. To just sit with the different Titan loadouts, to sit with the different guns, to learn how to run on walls and double jump and stuff like that. It is really, really good. Let me gather my thoughts here because there was something else I remember what I was going to say now. So, and this is really high praise. Have you played Half-Life 2?
Yeah, I've played through most of it. I have not beaten it, but I've played through a lot of that game.
It's one of the greatest shooters of all time. This game reminds me of Half-Life 2. It does things from a narrative perspective. Again, some cliches, but it does things from a narrative perspective and combines it with the gameplay in a way that I haven't seen since Half-Life 2. And followed it up with great gunplay, a variety of guns, the ability to go invisible. You have different grenades and different enemies running around, chasing you. You have boots on the ground enemies, but you also have drones flying at you, and you have to do parkour and platforming. Just so much variety in such a small package. Now, here's the spoiler alert that I wanted to talk about really quickly. So, spoiler alert, I'll let you guys back in after I'm done talking about this section. Just fast forward a minute or two. The part where you flip in and out of the two different times is one of the coolest moments in video games that I've experienced in a very long time. So on one side, you're fighting these four-legged, they look like tigers or something. You're fighting these tiger creatures with giant tails that can impale you. And then you hit L1 and you go back in time, and you're in a factory. You go back in time to when this factory was up and running and operational. And you hear on the intercom, we have an intruder, we have an intruder. And then you can hit L1 and instantly flip back to present day, and you have to fight these tigers again. So you go back and forth, and when you go back to the past, these guys go, where did he go? He disappeared. Oh my God, he's back. And they're commenting on you when you're flipping in and out of these two different universes in these two different time zones. And it's very, very reminiscent of what you see in Ratchet and Clank Into the Nexus. Not Into the Nexus, I'm sorry. A Rift Apart. It's very similar to that, which is a PS5 game. So how they pulled this off in a PS4 game, I have absolutely no clue. I was completely blown away. And it made me lose a little bit of respect for Ratchet and Clank, because I don't know if maybe they played Titanfall 2 and said, let's make an entire game out of this, but I didn't realize this came before it with that really, really cool level. That's my impression of the game. I loved how short it was. I think it's a very good package. Extremely happy that you recommended it, because I would not have played this. It completely would have slipped my mind. I had it in my backlog, but let's be honest, I just would have missed it. Something else would have came up. Like I said, I want to play the new Modern Warfare because of this game. It got me back in that mode. I don't know if it's going to be as good as this. This is very good. Like I said, up there with Half-Life 2. Do you have any questions for me, Vinny? Do you want any of my other thoughts on this game? I feel like I'm ranting at this point.
No, I think you hit it nail right on the coffin. Such a good, very, very tight campaign. Doesn't overstay its welcome. Consistently surprises you, which I think was the big thing for me while I played through this campaign, and it kind of all culminates even at the end. I remember one of my things, like, obviously the sort of the snapping between time zones, that mission is, I mean, it is so, it really is insane for particularly that time where nothing like that had been done.
Right. And
like you said, how you would think you were playing like on a PS5 or something. Like, there's no way that they could accomplish that on a PS4, and they did, and it runs perfect. But even at the end, man, and like you said, it's so cliche, and that's, that's part of the charm of these games, is that it's cliche.
Right.
But
right.
I know at the end, and if I'm remembering correctly, I think you get like a smart pistol at the end, and you're just running around kind of,
yeah,
you're kind of shooting people at one time, and that was kind of a famous gun, I know, in Titanfall 1, and so they kind of brought that back. But
that was a reference to the first game.
It was a reference to Titanfall 1. It was an overpowered gun in Titanfall 1 that they had to nerf, and they had to essentially get rid of it because it was so overpowered, and they brought it back in the last section of that game, and it kind of just, it's kind of a nod to, former Titanfall players. But another thing is the movement is so nice in this game. And like you said, it feels right when you're off the Titan, when you're your jump pack just has a nice like boost to it. It's not like a, I think we played Black Ops 2, like a floating jetpack sort of thing. Right. Maybe that was Black Ops 3.
Yeah.
This has like a nice boost to it. So you kind of get that movement, and you'll kind of be flying through these sort of different platforms where the game kind of has some like platforming elements to it in a way because of its sort of movement system, which is a lot of fun. And it's just such a well-told, well-done campaign. And I'm happy that you said that this kind of brought you back to why these games are good. And this is just one of those games, man. This is why I love these types of campaigns. And I know, you know me, I play Call of Duty campaigns every year. None of them smell this campaign. I think the Modern Warfare probably has a fight, you know, with this one. But I don't think they necessarily feel as good as this game. This game feels so nice to play. It feels good to shoot characters too. Like there's a nice, like, you know, like just a satisfying, like, I think you get hit markers in the campaign, correct?
Yeah.
I think you do.
Yeah, you do.
And which is a good thing. And it just feels nice to kind of get that killing blow. I think it's like a red X whenever you kill someone. But dude, and let me just say this to piggyback off of what you said. The multiplayer for this game is 10 out of 10. It is so good. The multiplayer for Titanfall 2 is, dude, it is so good. No microtransactions, no nothing, proper leveling system. Oh my gosh. It was a love letter to Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare multiplayer fans. Dude, the multiplayer in Titanfall 2 is so much fun. I would have highly advised you to play that instead of, you know, Apex.
Well,
Apex
I
is
tried.
far more insane. Yeah, what was your experience with that? Were people just too good? Yeah.
I couldn't find a match because everybody's playing Apex.
Oh, man,
You know?
that's such a shame.
Maybe I did it at the wrong time of day, but this game's very old by now. So
Yeah.
nobody's playing it. I really wanted to see how that transition worked from single player, here's all the loadouts for Titans, and here's your tool set. Now go out and do it in the multiplayer. Let me ask you, do you have to beat the single player to play the multiplayer?
Oh, no, not at all. No, those are hand in hand. You can, it's just similar to any other. Yeah.
I almost would have considered it a requirement. I probably would have ended up, if I was the developers, not making it a requirement, but I could see the argument for requiring a playthrough of the single player before you go into the multiplayer. Because so many people are going to want to pick this game up, when it first came out at least, and immediately put in the disc and go straight into multiplayer and not stop until the next morning. You know what I mean? And they're going to miss out on one of the great shooting campaigns of the last 10
I
plus
completely
years.
agree. And like I said, that's why I picked this game up. I wanted to play the multiplayer. Like, I thought it was going to be a really good multiplayer game. And then, you know, I typically like campaigns. I wasn't expecting much at all. And that might have been one of the better parts about it, was I was expecting mediocre kind of sci-fi campaign, like, you know, nothing special. But man, it really does, like, just pleasantly surprise you throughout the entirety of the campaign. It is so cool. I know another scene, Baymax, he throws you a lot, doesn't he? He chucks you, and you have to kind of like platform your way around after he throws you. I remember very particularly. What's that?
You just said Baymax.
Baymax. Oh yeah,
Which is literally,
Baymax?
It's like beat for beat that same story though as Big Hero 6. So that's
right.
funny
Baymax
that
is Baymax is the Pixar one. It's BT.
Big Hero
Baymax.
6. Yeah, he does throw you.
You're right.
It's awesome.
That is too funny. Yeah,
It's
I did
awesome.
say Baymax. Yeah.
It's
But
awesome.
yeah, it's just so much fun. Man, I'm happy that it kind of brought you back to this sort of like, okay, at least I have someone here with me that's excited for a Titanfall 3 if they announce one, because now you kind of see why. Now you see why, like, there's a huge sort of cult following to this game, because it's so good, and it's such a shame that you didn't get to play the multiplayer, because I think you would have loved it. I really would have been shocked if you came back and said, yeah, I hated the multiplayer, but I love the campaign. The multiplayer is good. And one thing that the multiplayer does is it has bots, which I know don't sound good, but it's almost like minions in League, where it does a good job of kind of making you feel powerful, and then you kind of see players on the map as well that you kind of go up one-on-one against throughout the match. And it's really creative in that way, in that bot element of feeling really powerful. It's really cool, because you just crush bots like nobody's business, and then you see a real player and it's like, oh shit, like, and you're calling down Titans, which is a really cool effect, by the way. Whenever you call down your Titan, that's such a cool effect, the way that it kind of drops down from outer space. It's just such a cool game.
So this is their first sort of experience with a single player campaign. Is that correct?
Yeah, this was their first crack at it.
Insane. It totally makes sense how they go from this to Jedi Fallen Order. And I didn't see it before. Now I see it. Now, like I said, I've played the first opening few hours of Jedi Fallen Order. I understand the inspiration that they've taken from this game, the experiences they've taken from this game, and used it to propel them into these new single-player story experiences. And that's the one great thing I'll say about a game like Apex Legends. And you've mentioned something similar to this. They have the extra money to make these really good, high-quality products from these live service games like Apex. So, I can't be so negative on these live service games because you get something like Jedi Fallen Order, like Titanfall 2 out of it. So I'm turning a corner here, okay? If you're a new listener and we have 25, 50 episodes at this point, just go to episode 50 and see if I'm not an Apex Legends super fan at this point, because I'm turning some sort of a corner here. But that's it for my Titanfall 2 review. Vinny, thank you so much for recommending me this game. Like I said, I would have totally missed it. Definitely would not have played this game. These for your considerations seem to be week in and week out my favorite part of our podcast. They really are, because it's just it's such a variety. It's a way to mix it up every week,
Yeah, man. It gives us an opportunity to play games that we would have never played. Like I said, what would have been the odds of you playing Titanfall 2 campaign?
1%. Maybe less.
I mean, it's got to be even less. It's got to be even less. There's no
and
way
I bought
you
it
got
too.
that. Yeah.
I bought it.
Oh my goodness.
It was $4. That was the only reason I bought it. I was like, wow, what a steal. This is supposed to be a good campaign. Played it for an hour, put it down, didn't pick it up until 2022. So oh
my God, that is too funny. That is too funny.
That's it for this episode. This was Vinny, thanks for hanging in there. I know you have an early morning tomorrow, so I appreciate you staying up this late. It is 10 o'clock right now. We usually are done recording by 6 p.m. at the latest. So Vinny was a trooper through this one. I know you're going to go get some sleep, so I'm not even going to say that. Do you have anything else to say to these lovely people?
Well, let me say this. Maybe I'll just do this at the end of every podcast. I'll just give a random game that I'm craving. Okay. My random game that I'm craving, and perhaps you would like to go after me. Okay. My random game that I'm craving, not to say that I'm going to play it, not to say that we need to play these games. Mine is Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the Right Witch. I don't know what it is, but when we were talking about, when we were talking about PS3 games on that PS Plus subscription service, I was looking for Ni no Kuni on it to see if I don't know what it was, and it's not on there. Yeah. So that's my random game that I'm craving. I don't know if I'm going to satisfy that, but what about you? Are you craving any random games right now?
Crazy? This is so crazy. Puzzle Quest. I was going to say Puzzle Quest as a joke. I downloaded, there's like a Marvel Puzzle Quest, and I was playing it today. Go look at my trophy list. It's on there for today's date. I had one trophy that I unlocked. That is so weird that you brought up Puzzle Quest today. I forgot I literally played Puzzle Quest today. So that's my random game that I'm craving.
That is so funny. Oh my gosh.
All right, have a great night, everyone, and go get some sleep.
Go get some sleep.